We continue here at the Lone Star Conference Football Media Day in 2025 right here in McKinney, Texas, and it's a privilege to get to visit with Chris Fisk, the head football coach for the Central Washington Wildcats. Coach, 8-4 last year, but a trip to the playoffs and all of that. A couple of losses in conference play, both of them by one point, which I know has to be maybe even more frustrating that they were there, but it didn't affect your opportunity to go to the playoffs. So talk a little bit about 2024.
Well, I think the team overall, just the adversity that they came through, not only just losing a couple games by a point, but we went through a string of injuries, a string of starters that went out, and those guys didn't miss a beat. And I think that's an attribute to our culture, the way we do things up there, the belief that they have in one another, because it would be easy. I think you see a lot of teams that go through that same type of situation, they give up on the season, they quit on the season, and our guys didn't do that. And so that was great to see. You know, we learned a lot last year in terms of, you know, losing 2 games by a point and what we need to do to make sure our kicking game is right. It's always a good reminder to come down here to recruit and make sure that you're on those kickers. And so we'll look to be improved in that area, but it was a special season. You know, it was our 3rd trip to the playoffs in 4 years, and so we feel like we're in a situation as we move forward here. It's not a rebuild after graduating 27 seniors, but a reload on our culture.
All right. You know, with adversity there, and you talk about, you know, what do you do to get through those things? Obviously, culture is one of those things, and I think culture's it's not just a buzzword. It's a real thing, and you have to intentionally do that. But with that in mind, then what kind of adjustments are you looking at to go from 24 to 25?
Well, we'll find out a lot. We graduated 27 seniors, like I said, so we don't know much about this team. The things that we do know is that we have an All-American center back who's the anchor of that offensive line, who will provide a lot of leadership. We have our quarterback back, who is arguably one of the best in the country at the Division II level, to build an offense around. We don't know much about our backfield in terms of our running backs, but we think we are actually maybe going to be improved at the running back position with the young guys that are coming up. So it's a very exciting group. We've got a tight end group that's all back and seasoned. Played a lot of snaps last year in that tight end group. And then we've got all brand new wide receivers. And so we'll be kind of starting over in that wide receiver unit to increase some production numbers in that group. And then defensively, we've got to replace the entire D-line. And, you know, so when you're trying to sleep at night and you're thinking about replacing that entire D-line and most of those old linemen, that's really where, you know, you kind of lay awake at night hoping that you can get that done. But like I said, the reason that we don't miss a beat when we have the injuries and all those things is culture, but it's also some of the ways that we practice and the way that we go about gaining reps for those guys that are in those backup roles, so that when they do get their number called, they have that opportunity to make an impact for their team. So we'll continue through that process.
Yeah, and Coach, when you talk about replacing an entire defensive line like that, you're not talking about 3 or 4 players. You're talking about 6 to 8 players a minimum.
Yeah, well, you know, yes, but most of the backups are back that will slide into that starting role. So it's not as maybe devastating as it sounds, but now you've got to find what's the depth in that group, because it does take 8 to 10 guys a game to get your D-line through that group. So we kind of know who the starters are going to be. We don't know who their backups are going to be, and those backups are crucial. And I always tell guys on the D-line, that's not really about starters, right? You're going to play 10 guys. You're going to rotate those guys through. People are going to get a lot of equal reps, and so we've got a lot of discovery to have happen in fall camp in that group.
A couple of non-conference games, and then the Lone Star Conference schedule starts again in 2025. Have you looked ahead any?
Well, we certainly look at Colorado Mesa, because that's our first game on August 28th in Ellensburg, and familiar foe. We played them last year down at their place, and we're lucky to escape there at Mesa with a win. They're going to be very talented. They've got a lot of returning players. When Coach took over the program there, he took over an empty program and really recruited young. He brought in, I think, over 40 freshmen his first year, another 40, another big freshman class last year. So they're going to be young and hungry and talented, and so we expect their best coming up. And then we'll play University of Montana in week 2, so we'll go up to Washington Grizzly Stadium in Missoula and play against Coach Hauk's team up there, the great Coach Hauk. But we don't have a lot of focus on those guys right now. We're all Colorado Mesa as we move forward and really trying to find out about ourselves through fall camp.
All right. Coach Chris Fisk, Central Washington Wildcats, success to you all this season. Thank you very much for stopping by here on Media Day.
Appreciate it. Great to see you again.